Hello artists! Today we are making this patterned landscape. So we're going to be using lines and shapes to create our artwork today. Let's get started. To start our landscape drawing, we're going to draw the ground. So the ground is going to go across the middle of my page, and I want it to be hilly, so it's going to be a bumpy line. So starting at the edge of the page, I'm going to curve up and down, and then again go up and down and up and down all the way across. Now our landscape is of a farm, and a farm usually has a field that's broken up into parts with all different things, like different plants and vegetables that are growing. We're going to divide ours up using a straight line. So I'm using a ruler. You could also use a edge of a book or something else that's straight, and I'm going to turn it and trace my ruler from the line of my hill down to the bottom of the page like that. I'm going to keep adding lines to my hills. I'm going to turn them in different directions and make them going across each other. We're going to fill each of these spaces with a pattern. Like that. Next, I'm going to move on to drawing the barn. I'm going to put the barn on the hill, and I'll start by making a vertical line, so a line that goes down, straight down to the hill. I'm going to move over and add another straight line going down to the hill. Connect the top of those lines. Remember to pause the video if you need more time. Then I'm going to add the roof of my barn. So I'm going to go to this corner right here, and I'm going to add a diagonal line. So that's going over this way. Do the same thing to the other side. And connect the top. Then from the top corner of the roof, I'm going to add another diagonal line going down. I'm going to connect to the side, and now I'm going to add a vertical line going all the way down to the hill. So there's my barn. Next, I can add extra details. So if you'd like to, you could add a tree by making two lines, and then I'm going to add a bumpy or a wavy line on the top of my tree. You could also add things like a sun and a cloud. That's completely up to you. You could add windows and doors to your barn. I think I'm going to start with my sun over here and my sky. And I'm going to add some rectangles for the rays of my sun. I'm going to add a rectangle shape for the door of my barn, and even the big side door. Maybe this is where the animals come in and out, with an X in the middle. And there we go. Now I'm ready to move on to the coloring part. I'm going to start by tracing my whole drawing with some black Sharpie. You could also use a black crayon, or you could use a black colored pencil. And if you don't have the color black, then you can just use a dark color like brown or dark blue. Go ahead and trace the whole drawing that you just made. Once you're finished tracing your whole drawing with a Sharpie or a marker, something dark, then we're going to start to draw patterns. A pattern is a line or a shape that repeats. So I'm going to start with a simple pattern. I am making circles. excuse me, and I am putting circles in this whole space. I'm spreading them out so that they're in every spot. Then I'm going to move to a different part of my field and I'm going to add a different shape, like this one is triangles. You're going to add a pattern to each of these spaces in the field. If you would like to, you can also put a pattern in things like the tree or inside of the barn, but it's very important we're putting a pattern in every part down here. So I did circles, I did triangles, I could add, let's see, some squares. And like we said, a pattern is a line or a shape that repeats. So I have some shapes. Now I'm going to make some patterns using lines. For example, let's go over here and let's do a wavy line pattern. So I started at the top and I'm adding wavy lines one after the other until I get to the bottom of the part. Then maybe over here I can do some vertical lines. Take your time with your pattern. If you notice that none of my lines are touching each other, none of my shapes are touching each other, I am taking my time with each part that I draw. So go ahead and finish filling each of the parts of your field with a pattern. Once you're finished with making all of your patterns, you can start to color your patterns in and the rest of your artwork. So I am using a marker here to start coloring. I'm probably going to use a combination of my markers and my crayons and maybe even my colored pencils. But when you're finished, your entire work of art should be colored. Take your time. We're coloring everything in, including our pattern. So if you notice, I'm going carefully around these circles because they're going to be colored in with a different color. So go ahead and color your entire work of art with whatever coloring tools you have. Once you're done coloring, don't forget to take a picture and turn your artwork in so that I can see it. I hope you had fun making our pattern landscape today.